Okay, guys, let's do. Oh, wait. 1 minute, guys. Before I do this. Man, my stomach. Alright, sorry, guys. Now we need to back. Um, let's do Becky watched a teen murdered by her stepbrother and his girlfriend.
Insurance made a low offer to settle after my motorcycle accident, but I called John Mooney and he got them to pay $200,000 more. To see what your case is really worth, call Mooney Ball. 833 Mooney Ball. Mooney, Mooney, Mooney! This is wellness light years ahead of its time. Meet E27 with. Do you trust your family? Do you believe that in the moments you wake up the most, they do whatever they could to help? What if you can't? Most of us would never stop to think maybe those nearest and dearest to us have a dark side, especially not one that would bring us harm. That's what Becky Watts thought, a young girl who was seemingly loved by so many, who had her life taken from her in one of the most brutal ways possible by one of the people whose meant to care for her the most. Let's dive in. Becky had a tough start in life. Born in Bristol in the UK, her parents separated before she was even born. She lived with her mom, Tanya Watts, until she was taken away due to concerns that she was being neglected. She was taken in by her dad, Darren Galsworthy, and his wife, Angie, and Angie's son, Nathan Matthews. Becky was less than a year old when all this happened. Growing up, she was a pretty anxious kid and was targeted by horrible kids pretty much her whole life. As a preteen, her stepmom reached out to local services for help when Becky stopped going to school and stopped eating. Becky told medical professionals that she was being targeted about her weight by other kids at school and by her stepbrother Nathan. She also confessed that she'd been
This no
involved
one,
in a boy from school who is now blackmailing her
I
over
want to tell you
personal photos
something.
she sent to him. Becky was
My
diagnosed with
grandmother say the
and
same
had
thing
to leave
about
her
my
school,
weight.
instead continuing her studies in a hospital
I got
setting. After a
so
year, she
mad
seemed
at
to be
her she
recovering
said that
pretty well,
crap
but
to
then
me.
once again, her behavior started to deteriorate. Later, after a deep
And you
investigation,
know what?
Becky's treatment by her family and local authorities, they
I look at her like that's my water weight. I can't
as mentioned, her stepbrother taunted her for her weight really badly,
I
but that
can't
wasn't all.
control it.
They would all learn that Nathan was a super shady guy. He was raised mostly by his grandparents, who said he spent like 99% of his time in the bedroom on the computer. He found it difficult to keep a job and suffered from fibromyalgia, an illness that caused him to feel pain all the time. He also stated that he experienced anxiety and severe anger issues. When Nathan was in his 20s, he met Shauna Hoare, and they began a serious relationship, despite the fact that she was only a teen at the time. Shauna also came from a dysfunctional home and said that Nathan was super controlling. He wouldn't let her continue her education after high school, and she often had to beg for food from him. Her family disapproved of their relationship because of the age gap. As a result, they started spending more time with Nathan's family and more time with Becky. On February 19th, 2015, Becky came home early in the morning after a sleepover at her friend's house. She went straight back to bed so she could catch up on sleep. At 11 a.m., Angie left to go to a hospital appointment, And at around that same time, Nathan and Shauna entered the house like they would any other day. Shauna went straight into the garden to smoke a cigarette and claimed she was totally unaware of what Nathan planned to do next. At around this time, Becky sent her last ever text message. In later police interviews, Nathan would confess that that day he was planning to meet Becky, but not like he and Becky didn't have the best relationship, and he claimed this was because he didn't like the way she treated her dad and stepmom. His plan that day was to fake her, take her to a wooded area where he would reveal his identity and give her a stern talking to about how she treats people. That isn't even close to what happened. Becky died seconds after Nathan entered her bedroom. According to reports, he smothered her with a pillow, then stabbed her all over her body just to make sure he finished the job. After that, he moved her body to the trunk of his car and went back into the house, pretending as if nothing happened. But it would only take a couple of hours for those closest to Becky to realize something was wrong. Like a lot of teens, Becky was obsessed with her phone and in touch with her friends and boyfriend 24/7. When she suddenly stopped responding, people got worried. That afternoon, Becky's boyfriend Luke came to the house looking for her, since he hadn't heard from her all day. He spoke to Angie, who said that Becky wasn't home, and she must have gone somewhere with her friends. At 6 p.m., Nathan and Shauna left his mom's house and drove home. Nathan claims that he waited for Shauna to go to bed, then he took Becky from the car and moved her to the bathtub. He blocked off the bathroom to Shauna, claiming there was an issue. Over the next few days, it became clear that Becky hadn't just gone out with some friends and that something was super wrong with this situation. The police were involved and a high-profile search began, everyone hoping and praying that they'd find Becky alive. Some suspected that she'd run away from home, and in a television appeal, the police and Becky's parents asked if any of her friends were keeping her hidden to tell her to come home. They continued to search for signs of her in her home and places she was known to visit when they found something that would turn the whole case around: a red fingerprint. Now, police were already kind of suspicious of Nathan and Shauna. For one, they both openly admitted in interviews that they didn't like Becky or how she treated her parents, which raised a red flag for them. Plus, according to the timeline they'd managed to map out, they were the last people to see Becky alive. They both told police that on the day she vanished, they'd heard her walk down the stairs and slam the door as she left the house. At this time, nobody else was in the home. After the discovery of the fingerprint, both Nathan and Shauna were arrested and brought in for further questioning. And the fingerprint wasn't the only new evidence they'd found. A search had been carried out on the couple's electronics, and some texts were found, showing that the couple had a disturbing side to their relationship. It appeared that both of them had a fascination with younger girls, and they would often talk about their fantasies in these messages. Shauna even once sent a message to Nathan saying she'd seen a perfect girl for them in the store and thought about knocking her unconscious so she could bring her back to the house. This was a key point because Becky fit their target demographic. The police were given extra time to interview the couple as further searches were carried out in their home and the surrounding area. Both refused to answer questions, simply responding with no comment under the advice of their lawyers. After almost 60 hours in custody, Nathan finally snapped and confessed to killing Becky, but gave the police his version of events. He told them of his plan to kill Becky to scare her, but during the process, he accidentally strangled her to death. Then he told them where to find her. As the search for Becky had intensified, Nathan knew he couldn't keep Becky in the bathtub. He and Shauna were spotted on a surveillance camera buying cleaning supplies, and Nathan also purchased a saw. You can kind of guess what they did next. Police followed his instructions, and sure enough, they found Becky's remains. Many were still hoping she was alive and just missing, so the news that her remains had been discovered in such awful condition was a real shock to her family and friends. Shauna was told that her home had become a crime scene and that they knew what really happened to Becky. She began detailing the turmoil in her relationship and how controlling Nathan was of her. However, she maintained that the gross text messages they exchanged weren't serious, and they'd never do anything like that involving Becky. 4 other men were arrested in connection with Becky's disappearance and murder. 2 were found not guilty at the trial, but the other 2, Carl Demetrius and Jaden Parsons, both pled guilty to assisting an offender. It isn't clear what these guys did to help Nathan and Shauna. They could have helped with getting rid of Becky's remains, or they could have just covered for them and helped them with alibis. On April 15th, Becky's family was finally able to put her to rest. Her funeral was attended by hundreds of people, and many stood along the streets to watch the procession to take her to her church memorial. She was taken in a white horse-drawn carriage, and her
That's
white coffin
beautiful.
was covered in beautiful pink flowers. Many of her family and friends wore light blue clothes or ribbons, since that was Becky's favorite color. It was all they could do to say goodbye to a wonderful girl who died in such an awful, brutal way. Both Nathan and Shauna were charged with Becky's murder. At their trials, they were both found guilty of conspiracy to kidnap, but only Nathan was found guilty of murder. Shauna was found guilty of manslaughter, a smaller charge that would mean less time in prison. On November 11th, almost 9 months after Becky died, Nathan was given a life sentence, a minimum of 33 years in prison, and Shauna was sentenced to 17. It really doesn't seem like that much, considering what they did to this poor girl. Since this case took place, an investigation into Becky's well-being took place and sadly found that there were warning signs of what was to come. One of Becky's friends told an investigator how before she died, Becky was absolutely terrified of Nathan. Even more disgustingly, they found that Nathan had threatened her life before and told Becky in great detail about how he wanted to kill her with a hammer. Looking back on it, her dad and Angie admit they saw a change in Becky's demeanor whenever Nathan was in the house. His presence made her scared and reserved. If only someone had realized how bad things were, maybe this whole thing could have been stopped from happening. The investigation concluded that more needed to be done to focus on the needs of kids Becky's age. I really hope that social services learned something from this tragedy, even though the evidence shows it could have been totally prevented. What do you guys think of this case? Do you think the authorities could have done more to protect Becky? Let me know what you think down in the comments. I can't wait to see what you guys think.
My opinion, yeah. Hi guys. I will see you in my last video, so I see you then.